as booked as the incredible Italian Heritage Festival returns to downtown Uniontown. We hope you'll join us for an unforgettable weekend at our all-new location just up Main Street in front of the Fayette County Courthouse. It's all brought to you by the Uniontown Sons and Daughters of Italy and grand sponsors C. Harper Auto Group and First Federal of Greene County and dozens of other area business sponsors. Stop down and enjoy a wide assortment of delicious food and drinks and a full slate of free entertainment including live music and family activities. Bring your friends and family. And remember, there's no need to be Italian to have a great time. It's the Italian Heritage Festival on Main Street in downtown Uniontown, August 9th and 10th. For updates and more info, follow us on Facebook at Sons of Italy of Uniontown. We hope to see you there.
Woohoo! Mamma mia!
All right, it's 3:14 on this Thursday. We're now joined by Tim Flecker, Dr. Marcy Goyce, and Dr. Betty Thomas from Montgomery Medical. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great.
Good to see you again.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks for having us. Little warm.
Always. It is. It is a little warm.
It's cool in here.
Yeah, nice and cool in here. But so, ladies, welcome back. Today we've got a fun-packed agenda of things to talk about. And since it is so hot out, I think we start with some summer safety ideas and do our public service announcements on how to keep people from dying in the yard cutting grass.
That's pleasant.
So I guess the first comment is maybe we talk a little bit about differences between heat stroke, heat exhaustion.
Yeah, so that happens when we can be outside for a really long time. So usually we sweat, right, when we're outside, when we're hot, and that actually helps cool our bodies. But sometimes it's insufficient enough, and then that's what happens when we start to get heat exhaustion, heat stroke. And when you get to that heat stroke level, that's actually an emergency and you need to be seen in the emergency room. But let's go through differences. So heat exhaustion, usually with a high body temperature, it's usually between like 101 to 104 degrees. But you start to have pale skin, muscle cramps, feeling like nauseous, maybe even vomiting, a little bit of dizziness and headache. Now, if you're feeling like that, then you want to go into an area that's shaded. Make sure you start to cool down. Drink a cold bottle of water. Take off like the excess clothing that you're having to try and cool down as well. When it goes to heat stroke, though, your temperature can actually go over 104. And instead of sweating, you're actually not able to sweat at this point, which is really concerning because now you're not able to cool yourself down at all. People can have dizziness, even can progress to seizures, and then that they start to get really confused. And when you start to see that, that's concerning. So definitely reach out to...
That's a 911 call.
Yeah, exactly. That's a 911 call. Hallucinations. And same thing, starting off, hydration, things like that, but definitely 911 and get to the emergency room to be seen.
So what are your thoughts on... drinking, do I need to be drinking constant Gatorade, saltwater tablets, just water? It was an ongoing debate when I was a soccer coach.
What did you come up with?
I just made them drink water. I figured they ate enough McDonald's and got enough sodium in between.
Some truth to that.
Yeah.
Again, it's somewhat variable to how long you're out there and how much you're sweating, because when you sweat, you lose water, but you also lose salt. So there's a thought of it's 2 bottles to water and 1 Gatorade kind of thing. Like every third should be a Gatorade or a G0. You don't need all the sugars sometimes, depending on how things are. So that's a general guideline. But you do need some salts if you're going to be sweating nonstop, especially if you're not able to eat. If you're eating salts, it's the same as drinking them.
And you want to think about, like you talked about mowing your lawn, right? So when people are now out and about, they're mowing their lawn, they're out there for hours at a time, depending, how many acres you have. Or even when you're on the beach for a long time, like this is those incidents where it can happen. If you're out there, playing soccer or you're a soccer coach yourself or things like that. And you want to make sure you're thinking about who's out there too. Like, is your parents out there? Are your grandparents out there? Is your child out there? Because they're more also likely to get heat exhaustion or heat stroke as well.
Right. I mean, there's some simple things to do when it's this hot out to stay cool. I mean, staying out of the direct sun seems obvious, but it's true. If you go into the shade, even though it's so humid, it's much cooler. If you wear clothing that has sunblock on it, it's actually cooler. Wearing a hat, even though if it lets some of the heat escape, actually keeps you cooler. Using a fan, whether it's the little handheld one or the electric fan in your house, opening windows so it's not as stuffy per se. Now, if the sun is coming in, you don't want to keep those open, but opening at night and then trying to cool it off helps.
Wearing lighter clothing out there.
Right, not as many layers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are some of the simple things, aside from, just staying in air conditioning. But not everybody has that luxury. And, we always didn't have air conditioning. You can survive in the heat, but when it goes from these extremes is when you get in trouble and you're not.
Yeah, I think especially at this time of year when it's only mid-June and it was 55 degrees 2 weeks ago.
Right,
so
yeah.
people aren't acclimated. I was reading a stat where of the people in the United States that die from heat stroke or heat exhaustion, I guess it has to go through heat stroke, but it's 60%. 60% of them are 55-year-old and older men.
Mm-hmm.
So it's me. It's my age group and we all drive around and you see your parents out there cutting grass at 80 years old, and you're like, maybe not today, Dad.
Mm-hmm. Well, those guys though have sort of worked, and it's not great, but they've kind of acclimated. They keep doing it, but oftentimes they're smarter and they do it early in the day or late in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
But some hard-headed people don't, and they'll go out through midday. They'll start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when it's the hottest, and they're push mowing, and they're out of shape, and it's like, that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hard to keep up, and you can't keep cool.
And then since I'm sitting here looking at the sunspots on my arm, maybe we should talk a little bit about sun prevention or sunburns.
Yeah. There's a couple other things that we wanted to mention just about just heat safety. It's, it's yourselves, but, thinking heat is definitely more dangerous for elderly. Mm-hmm. So even if they're sitting in their homes and they have a little bit of a fan or some air conditioning, the heat is still a lot. So you want to check on your neighbors and your family and your friends that are elderly, because they don't tolerate this as well. Their blood pressure can drop, they get dizzy, they can fall, bad things can happen. Obviously, remember your pets, because if they're outside especially, they need plenty of water. Try and give them, they need shade too. Like, they're hot, they're wearing a coat out there. So keep them in mind, and don't keep them in your cars. That's terrible. Remember your kids being in cars. That's not safe at all. That car heats up to well over 100 pretty quickly. I got in the car yesterday. I couldn't even touch the steering wheel. It was so, just temperature hot. It was crazy.
The seat belts, right? Be really careful not to burn yourself with those too.
Yeah, or you put your seatbelt across your toddlers. Like that metal buckle, you can actually burn people with. So you have to be careful. And then just damage from the sun. You're talking about the UV light, which we'll get into, UV rays. But, wearing sunglasses is important, especially since, or especially if you have fair complexion, blue eyes and blonde hair, red hair, green eyes kind of thing. But that lack of pigment in your irises actually can preclude you to getting melanoma actually in your eye, believe it or not, as you get older. So wearing sunglasses actually does matter. Even hats help. But yeah, protecting those eyes as well as your skin is important.
Make it a mission to do scheduled breaks, like say 15 minutes every hour. I'm going to go out into the shade or go back into the house and make sure I hydrate myself, and then come back out and start doing your work, especially for those who are also, they can't, do it in the evening or the morning because maybe they work outside all day. That's their job. Make that a mission to get those breaks.
But along the lines of sunscreens, we kind of talked on this last time a bit, what the zinc, the more mineral-based sunscreens being they're safer for the environment per se, but they do block the sun pretty well with the UVA and B rays. So,
and reapplication, right? It doesn't last all day, so
especially if you're swimming,
right? And especially if you're getting into the water, right? You're getting to the pool, you're going to the water at the beach. Then you got to reapply.
How many times you come out and you're sunburned right on your cheeks because you've wiped your eyes, and you're like, well, I had sunscreen on. I'm like, yeah, but every time you wiped your eyes, you wiped it off, so you got burnt eyebrows and eyelids and your cheeks from doing that.
Or you're taking a nap out in the sun. Oh gosh, the worst.
That's not smart.
Not smart.
Sometimes it's alcohol induced, which is even worse.
Which also dehydrates you faster. So make sure to drink water in between each drink.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people we talked about before with just in summer, not talked about before, but heading to the beach and on vacations and different things like that. You're trying to escape the heat, but you really don't. A lot of people go further south, and the water is cooler, or the temperature's cooler from the water on the beach, but all of these things still apply, even much more risky per se, because you're out there much longer. You'd usually spend the day out there, so your risks are higher for getting into danger, and it definitely happens.
what about water safety?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's pool safety, and then there's, well, lake and pond, and then there's ocean. So, since you brought it up, what do you got to say?
So, even if you're a strong swimmer, I always recommend life jackets. Always, anytime you're on a boat, because you always hear those stories. Yeah, they were a strong swimmer, they jumped in, and they still, unfortunately, passed away from drowning. So you always want to wear a life jacket, and especially for kids. You always want to teach them, hey, don't go into the pool yourself. But you also want to teach them you should always have someone there with you, even if a toy drops into the water. Never go in and reach it for yourself. You always want to make sure your kids always have life vests, so there's little huggies on at all times.
And even though I love the Youghiogheny River, it is our most dangerous body of water. I think there was I think someone does. I think they lost someone just 2 days ago.
Oh.
So think about it on the
Kayaking?
yacht,
Yeah.
fishing.
Oh, fishing.
Um, Think about it when you're on the yacht, swimming in the yacht, boating on the yacht.
Or Cheat Lake.
Or
I
even
mean, unfortunately,
Cheat
people-
River,
People die
Cheat
in
Lake,
Cheat
the
Lake.
Mon
All the
River.
time, yeah.
We're blessed with beautiful waterways, but
They're deep.
Yes.
And water is dangerous. I mean, we don't have rip currents here, but certainly rip currents in the ocean. I mean, you'll see signs for them, but understanding how that process works is very important because people drown in those all the time. And
And it takes seconds.
yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't take long at all. You don't fight that current. You go to
Parallel.
the, yep.
You go
parents,
parallel
teach
to
your
the
kids
shore.
to swim.
Yeah.
Take them
Yeah.
to swim lessons.
And you yourself should actually learn how to swim too. So you could teach your kid how to swim or have your child go to swimming lessons. But if you yourself also don't know how to swim, hopefully this never happens, but if your child were to happen to fall into the water, you also want to know how to get into the water, swim to rescue them as
Right.
well.
And even if you're a good swimmer, you never know when you jump in, especially when you can't see the bottom. You can't see what's under you, and you dive in and you go deep. You don't know what's under there. You hit your head, you hit whatever. Or you just, for whatever reason, your heart rate goes askew and you just inhale water, you start choking, and nobody can get to you. I mean, things happen quickly, so you have to just be cautious. And one of the other things we were talking about is, how to dress your kid, right? When you're in the pool, you don't want your kid to look like the water. You don't want them to blend in. So don't have a bathing suit on them that is aqua blue if the water is, the pool or the whatever. Put them in neon colors so they stand out, even at the beach, so you can find them. And we actually had this happen. We lost when Marlo was about 2 or 3. We were at Hershey Park, and we blinked literally, and she was gone. Like, we were in the water area. I couldn't think anything. I didn't know
terrifying.
what she was wearing.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I knew what she looked like. When they're asking what is she wearing, I had no idea. So parents, take a picture. If you're at a busy park, and then we always used to take, if you have a wristband, we would take a Sharpie and write a cell phone number and a parent's name on the wristband. So if they did just wander, it's not hard. And somebody finds them, they can call you and say, "Hey, I have, this little thing
child.
belong to you."
Save
But
so
things
much
happen.
time and
That
goodness,
happens all
I
the
was
time.
worried.
I mean,
No, it was scary. She
Scary,
just
terrifying.
literally just was distracted in the water and just started walking, and we found her. She got found playing in a little pile of sand. Like, it was just happy. She wasn't crying. She was content as can be. She wasn't scared. I was losing my mind. But it happens quickly. But I remember being asked, "What is your daughter wearing?" And I had no clue. I was blank.
Yeah, of course. You're
Little
stressed
stressful.
out. Yeah.
So, hopefully, some of those little preventative tips.
Another good thing for pool parties too is sometimes there's so many adults there, so we all happen to think everyone's watching.
Right.
But that's
no one
actually
can
the
be.
time that no one is watching. We just think, oh, you're watching someone else.
Yeah.
So-
or point them like at 15 minutes you're watching and
Yeah.
then rejoin. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Okay, you guys ready to pivot to our next topic?
Bug safety.
What is it?
No, we have more summer safety.
Okay, more something.
There's more.
Sorry,
Don't try to cut
you're
the
not
segment
ready
short.
to pivot. That's fine. Go ahead.
Summer's not over yet.
There's
beginning.
way more. Hold on for a second, Tim. So bug safety. So ticks, right? We're all spending a lot more time hiking and in our gardens, right? You just found 4 ticks on you.
4. Yeah.
4, which
For
is
little
crazy.
ones.
Yeah, little nymphs.
Which look, you said you
were
almost
the-
didn't notice them.
Yeah, they were the size of the tip of a pencil.
So really important when you're out there, hats, wear long sleeves, long pants. DEET, yeah. spraying
unfortunately.
yourselves with bug repellent to really avoid that. One of my patients actually puts tape on their legs over their socks, so it prevents kind of things from crawling up. I'm like, that's actually...
You mean but it's not the sticky side. The sticky side's got to be.
You get double-sided tapes, double sticky.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's
Okay.
interesting. Oh, that could be scary.
But even
Lots
if you're
of 'em.
wearing, long sleeves, you still always want to do skin checks. And remember, you can't see your back, so have someone else that you live with also look at your back, and just to make sure. And if you ever have a question, you find a tick on yourself, or you don't know if you need antibiotics or not, always come into same-day care. We're more than welcome to see you.
Generally takes
more than
48
happy
to
to see you.
72 hours, but sometimes you don't know how long it's been on there
Right.
to transmit something.
Yeah, like imagine if you didn't see those ticks on you like 2 days later, you'd know.
What should you do if you find a tick on you?
Run for the hills.
Come to same-day care.
No, yeah, I mean, if you can't, there are little things called tick twisters. There's lots of different YouTube videos about how to remove them. You don't want them to sort of regurgitate into your bloodstream. That's like you don't want that to happen if they've been attached. But again, if you just find it, you can take tweezers and pull the thing out. There's nothing that's going to happen. They've not been on there long enough. But if it's an engorged tick, you kind of want to do it semi-professionally with a particular. Well, we have a little tick twister thing.
Twisters, yep.
That work. So you can always come over, like she said, and we can help you get that out pretty successfully, and then determine whether or not you need either prophylactic antibiotics or true treatment.
Right. Mm-hmm. Then it's also barbecue season. When's our next barbecue at your house?
Tomorrow. No.
So with that said, barbecue season's upon us too. A lot of times, we'll get faced with, hey, I went to a barbecue yesterday, day before yesterday, and now I'm vomiting or I'm having diarrhea. What happened? Or a bunch of people got sick at, the pool party outside. So we want to focus on, one, washing your hands always, right? Especially as you're preparing food. But also we want to make sure that food is not staying out for too long. So making sure food is like beverages are in a separate cooler, because we often open them and then have your pre-prepared food on ice, right? Or well insulated and covered and nicely cooled. Because once it gets to a temperature between like 40 to 140 degrees, that's when bacteria grow and can multiply in your food. And that's when you eat it, that's what causes you to be sick and cause food poisoning. So definitely be careful of that. Definitely be cautious of that when you're going to pool parties, barbecues, anything outside that's for a long time. You want to be really selective and cautious. So don't take a risk. If it's out there for a long time, better safe than sorry. Don't consume it. Anything else?
No, I was going to bring up when we were talking about skin issues and sunburns and different things that we had talked about skin cancer last visit, and we mentioned the dermis sensor that we were getting, but we do have it now. So I meant to bring it, but it's about, if I can see your phone, it's about the size of Tim's cell phone, which is an iPhone 16. It's a little bit thicker, but it literally uses AI technology and puts little pulses over a lesion, and it will determine if there's abnormal characteristics to it. So does it look precancerous or cancerous? Is there something abnormal? And you get a variation of numbers between 0 and 10. The higher your score, the more likely there's something abnormal. So we now have the machine. If you are our patient and you have moles or other lesions you're concerned about, we'd be happy to check it out. If you're not our patient, come over and see us and we'll be happy to do it. It's painless. It's really quick, but it can save unnecessary worry. It can save an unnecessary trip to dermatology or wherever. And we do biopsies in the office as well, so that can save you that specialty trip too that may or may not be necessary. If you want to go to dermatology, or if we think you need to go, then certainly we'll make that happen. But the machine is really neat. So
it's a pretty cool device.
Yeah.
And like she said, it's painless. So it just, goes on your skin 5 little times, takes little snapshots, and then that's it.
Yeah. It's pretty unique. So kind of excited about that.
Okay, we ready to pivot now?
You want to pivot?
I do.
guess.
So June is Alzheimer Awareness Month. So I figured we would talk a little bit about dementia and Alzheimer's and all the related disease for the layman like me, where, older folks tend to forget stuff. So I guess we'll start with what is it? What is Alzheimer's?
Well, so Alzheimer's is it's the most common type of dementia, and it is a specific process. But dementia itself is just a decline in mental faculties, whether it's like memory, cognition, putting things together, multitasking, and they just keep progressing to the point that you can't do daily tasks, and then unfortunately forget even how to feed yourself, how your bodily functions work and require care, and can lead to your demise. And there are different types of dementia. As I said, Alzheimer's is the most common, but there's vascular dementia, which is, I think, pretty common too, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and those are the most common things, I suppose. Yeah. But Alzheimer's is the leading cause, and I think the statistics are at 60 to 80% of all related cases, or all cases of dementia. So it's unfortunately very common, and the older you get, the more likely you are to have it happen. If it happens before 65, it's very unfortunate. It's considered early onset, but over 80, I think over 65, every 5 years your risk continues to double, which is not great. So we've learned to keep people alive longer, but we haven't figured out how to keep that brain healthy longer. So we're working on that. But
well, that was my next question. So how do I prevent myself from developing Alzheimer's?
There are certain measures that you can do. So like exercise is really, really important, and it's daily exercise. And it doesn't have to be, 30, 45, an hour a day. Even in your elderly population, and it's 10, 15 minutes a day. And obviously when you're younger, you want to do it more. But that's really important to help kind of keep dementia away, but also help with health with your heart risk factors as well. 2, you want to make sure you're learning, right? Reading. So you want to do puzzles, things that exercise your brain. Especially as we get older and then we retire, we tend to just kind of not do as much, not get into new hobbies or interests or learn as much. But they actually encourage do puzzles, get a new hobby, learn different things to do, because that'll exercise your brain in different ways as well. Eating right, eating healthy, right? Yeah. So our fast food culture, not going to be beneficial to help stave this away. So things like that, like little daily things that we can do will help as well.
Controlling the other risk factors that are controllable are, trying to maintain your health. So if you have diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol, keeping those controlled, because your blood vessels want to stay clean, and if you have those processes going on, they get calcified, they get built up, and any of that stuff can cause those little small vessels in the brain to kind of get closed off and shut down, and then they just regress over time. So
smoking
that's
is a risk factor.
Oh, smoking is a big risk factor. Even alcohol. That's the other big cause. You can sort of be a social drinker, but if you're drinking a couple drinks every night, especially into advanced age, you can definitely develop dementia related to that. And you can stop drinking, but that won't reverse, unfortunately. So
how do you recognize? Like, how do I tell the difference between I can't remember where I put my keys yesterday, in true dementia, or is there differences? Am I already on that path?
There's a spectrum, right? Like occasionally you're gonna, I don't know where I placed my keys, or I forgot that person's name, or my mom will run through all her kids' names before she gets to my name, but that doesn't mean she's developing dementia. But it's when it's starting to change, right? Like now you're going through the same routes that you usually go to the bank or to Walmart, and all of a sudden you're getting lost, or you're starting to forget to off the stove, or now you're having a more difficult time managing your bills, right? Because you're forgetting things that you used to do commonly. That's when those early signs are starting to manifest. Or your mood your mom or your dad's mood is starting to change, or you notice that they're now spending their money differently than they used to. They're spending it a little bit more unwisely. That's not characteristic for them. Those are kind of early signs that you can pay attention to and say, hey, I need to go see my primary care doc.
Yeah, some patients will actually recognize that they're getting forgetful, so they start getting short with their family members. They're like really
paranoid,
edgy.
Yeah.
So because they don't want the family to recognize that they're forgetting, so they sort of jump down their throats and attack them for questioning what they're doing, and they're just trying to hide. They know what's going on. By the time they don't know what's going on, then it's very far progressed. But early on, you can see that. But conversely, as what I've seen in a lot of my patients is mood disorder actually increases, whether it's anxiety or depression, because you're getting older, your mortality is sort of in your face, if you will. Your family's dying, your friends are dying, they're sick. So you get anxiety, you get depression, and that can affect your memory. So even though those are risk factors for developing worsening dementia because of the seclusion, you don't want to diagnose, you don't want to tell somebody that they have dementia if they've got anxiety or depression. You have to get that treated first. So, and oftentimes mimic it, and you fix that, and all of a sudden they're more outgoing. They're like back to themselves, and that's a big mistake that sometimes gets missed.
So that's why it's important coming to your primary care physician, because yes, we can do like mental tests on them as well, but also we can rule out, is it coming from their thyroid? Are they truly depressed? Do they have a vitamin B12 deficiency or something that could be mimicking this?
Right. And I think, we have specialist neurology, neurologists, or even geriatric specialists, or the center at WVU, and they can do sort of thorough testing. But, a lot of times we just find it in the office because, the patient comes in and literally we're seeing them for a short time frame, and they can tell us anything they want and kind of trick us. But then the daughter or the other loved one comes in and is like, they're sitting in the back like, no. Because, you can ask them a question, what'd you have for breakfast? And they can rattle off something, and the loved one's like, that's not right at all. Like, they're just making something up, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
Well, plus they're probably pretty locked on.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be in denial about it.
But it's impressive. So when the family members come, you really want to listen to them and try to get that information. Not necessarily confronting the patient, but sometimes that's very helpful. Or even if you've known the patient for years and then they come in and you can tell they're actually repetitive in what they're saying. They've told me that same story the last 3 times they've been in here. And you can kind of pick up on things. Or you would ask them a question and like, no, I know in the past you would have known that. So, and sometimes you don't have to confront them and be so in their face. You can just ask general questions about the weather, the season, the whatever, and they can't answer. And it's like, wow, that's not good.
That's why it's important also to get your wellness done every year,
Right.
right? Because, we know you don't like to be asked those questions, but it can give us a clue, like, hey,
Right.
is there something going on that's deeper?
Yeah.
So I was actually going to ask, how does it usually present? Is it usually a family member?
Yeah.
And
it is.
so in my perspective, that's why it's important to have a family doctor, not just for your parents, but also it's important for the child to have a relationship with that doctor, because it all comes down to trust. And I think it's important for people to go, okay, I'm a little concerned about Dad. Hey, Dad, I'm going to come to that appointment with you, and that they know who they're going to see. And I think that's one of the advantages of having a local, trusted, independent medical practice of people that you know.
Yeah. I mean, you have to explain to people, like, this person, they can fool me for 10 minutes. You're seeing them 365 days a year sometimes. I'm seeing them for 10 minutes. Like, there's a lot I can miss, we can miss in that 10 minutes. So
how does the conversation go once you say to either the patient or the family, I think Dad might have early onset dementia? But what happens after that?
we notice it or they notice it? Because there's a difference.
Okay, we'll say they notice it. What typically
that's
occurs?
a lot easier. Yeah. Then you have to do a more thorough history. Like what is the family seeing? And you often, if the patient is in the room, sometimes they sit there and they're in absolute denial. They're like, I do not do that. I do not do that. I do not do that. And that's like, that's not going to go so well because that patient is in, they don't want to hear it. And then sometimes, honestly, patients, some have unrealistic expectations that this is really that bad, right, for what their mom or dad is doing.
They come in and be like, oh, Dad, she can't drive anymore. Take away his driver's license.
Yeah, that's not
Right.
That's
That's never.
that's very, very tricky, and that's tough. But usually you can talk to a patient and ask indirectly. Like I said, I'll ask what they had for breakfast. I'll ask something about something that's in the news and see if they have a clue as to but their defense will be, I don't watch the news. I don't watch television. So then you have to figure out something else.
Go to the Pirates. How the Pirates doing?
No, but a lot of, they'll have an excuse. And actually, I've heard that a lot. But my grandfather, actually, towards the end of his life, he would say these little quippy things. And I realized, like, that's his only answer. He died long before he had severe dementia, but he was getting a little repetitive and a little just off the cuff with remarks to just distract and detract from him and move it on to somebody else. But they're pretty good at doing that. So you sometimes will we have a longer form to do the mini mental status exam. That's a little more detailed, but you get some people that just won't do it.
Yeah, they refuse.
And then you just have to, you got to step back, because if you don't have their buy-in, it's hard to do stuff. And then there are some patients that that you can see that they're declining. The family members can see it, but they don't want to do anything. They're fearful of medications. They're fearful of interventions. And some people want to know earlier and get treated, start treatment sooner. And there's so many variations.
I think it's also providing education to the family members as well in how to handle these situations, or how to handle, like, certain simple things like just safety at home, right? Or making sure that, they're socially involved, they're engaged, they're doing puzzles, they're walking together with this person, being involved in the church or their family groups or things like that, to kind of also help prevent progression as well.
Yeah, social isolation it's a big problem here.
Yeah.
In this warmer months, it's not as bad, but one of the biggest complaints that I hear from all of my elderly patients is in the wintertime. There's nothing, like, what do they do? It's cold. They don't want to go out. But even if they wanted to go out, where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah.
Besides
They should go to the
center.
YMCA.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
really.
We
They
encourage
really should.
it
We do.
all the time. If any of my patients are listening, you've heard about silver sneakers, I'm sure, because I encourage them all the time. I feel like I should just drive them there sometimes, but no, it's tricky.
Yeah, finding a social circle.
Yeah. Even like safety at home. So carpets at home so they're not tripping, right? If you need to maybe install a camera so you're not working.
That doesn't even have to be with dementia. That's
Right. That's true.
carpet
Just
should be gone.
Sure. Clear labels, doing
Right.
something that's easier for them to put on rather than buttons like Velcro, things like that can kind of hearing aids, right? Sometimes a lot of the patients just can't hear well,
Right.
and that can internally also make them more confused. So
Yep.
kind of saying, okay, do they need a hearing assessment? Do they need to go to audiologist? Because a lot of times that can also improve some of their confusion that they're having as well.
Right. But some other tips, if you have a calendar, if people are, still living independently, sometimes you have to go and help them, set out their pills.
Yeah.
Like, these are the morning, these are the night, but you fill it up for them so they don't get confused. Because if you have a bunch of medications and you don't take them properly, well, that's going to make everything worse. Because I've had patients that have gone into a personal care home, per se, and all of a sudden they do so much better, and they're just taking their pills regularly, and they're happy, they're eating, their sugar's controlled, their blood pressure's good. They would just either take all their meds at one time or skip a day, and yeah, that gets really bad.
And maybe doing clear labels in your household, even for the medications too, with like, hey, this is for your blood pressure, this is for your diabetes, this is for your cholesterol. That can help them too, because they might not recognize it by just name alone.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Right.
How about some of the family social issues that you observe when someone's not just, they have dementia, now they're getting into like mid-stage dementia, maybe not late stage, but mid-stage, and those tough family decisions of when do we decide they can't live on their own? When do they become a risk to themselves?
So this is a great point. When you start to see that difference in your parents or, your siblings or friends, not really your friends, but you want to have that tough conversation, because if this will likely progress, and so you want to know, what do they want for their life, their advanced directives, who who do they want their medical power of attorney to be? You know, if they were to get so bad, right?
Who's going to make those medical decisions? Like, you got to have those conversations.
You really do. And you should have that often with them, actually, because it can change as this progresses, or, you know, in a month, 2 months, their wants can change. You know, they might not want to have any life-saving.
Right. I mean, we're going
Things
through, my
on-
dad's
yeah.
84. He's had some recent medical hiccups.
Yeah.
And it's
Fortunately,
really,
I've got a wife that's a doctor that helps me navigate these things, but it's hard. It's very difficult.
It is really difficult. And even if they're resistant at first, try to bring it up again, not in a defensive way or anything like that, but they might start to think about it a lot more and then be more receptive to it if they're not receptive to it in the beginning. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to make a choice for them later on that you're not comfortable with making or not sure what their wishes and wants would
Well,
be
you should
later on.
have, if all goes well, you actually have those decisions made before they're not capable
Right,
of
yeah.
making that decision. That would be even better. But I mean, I've encouraged, one of the things that the Navy taught me when Tim and I were young, he's like, we need a will. And I was like, for what? Yeah, we're 30 years old. I don't need a will. He's like, nope, we have to have a will. And so, you know, working in the VA hospitals, everybody that came in had an advance directives. What do you want to happen if something bad happens during this hospitalization? So we can't predict the future. You never know what's going to happen. So whether you have dementia or not, you should have those advance directives in play. And not only just what do you want if something bad happens, but what about your will? Where do you want your stuff to go? I can tell patients, I'm like, I don't care if it's your cat, your church, your neighbor. It doesn't. But if you don't have it laid out, it causes so much confusion. But those medical decisions, man, I've seen families fight over that. Siblings disagree. Next of kin can't agree. They're like the only one to make the decision, and they can't make it. They have all this guilt about they have no idea what to do. So those conversations aren't pleasant, but they're absolutely
necessary.
because I guarantee you, we're all going to die at some point. So you need to have that stuff kind of laid out. It does help people.
Yeah, I would lay it out, and you need to have a will. You should probably have a general power of attorney or a limited power of attorney. That's more of a legal thing. You need your medical power of attorney. That's kind of the key one you're talking about. Who's making your medical decisions for you when you're incapacitated or unable to. And then the last one's your medical directive. That is, hey, what life-saving measures at my end of life do I want? So, yeah, I'm a paperwork kind of guy, so we have those things.
And then there's also, like, you know, anyone that's a caretaker knows it's so
So
difficult.
hard.
Oh, that's where I was going to go next. And
we really
caregiver burnout is a
yeah.
real thing. And
So it can be hard because, you know, depending on where you are at life, you're working, maybe you have a family and kids to also manage, and then all of a sudden you also now need to take care of your loved one as well. So making time for yourself if you can.
They never do.
I know.
Right?
'Cause
So many caregivers are like, I can't do this right now. I've got to take care of mom or dad or both.
But then they also feel guilty about it too if they do. But
Right.
you really do have to take care of yourself because that's the only way you can take good care of someone else, honestly. You know, trying to set up someone else that can even watch your parents or your loved one, even if it's 30 minutes to an hour, so that you can go do something that's just for you. That helps you once a week, twice a week, whatever. Or even there's respite care too, you know, that you can have your loved one in the respite care for a weekend so that you can do what you need to do. That's a break.
yeah, I think a lot of people feel guilty about that. And
Yeah.
No, but it is exhausting.
It is.
And I have a lot of patients who, you know, skip their own health, mental health, physical health, screening stuff because they're like, I don't have time to be sick. I just have to keep going. So if you find something, I don't want to I don't want to know because I can't deal with that right now. I've got too many other issues. I'm like, yeah, but if you're not available to take care of them because this isn't taken care of, you're not helping anybody. But it's tricky. You asked about potentially, you know, when is it time to not be home alone? And
yeah, I was going to get into the advanced
That's a good
stage,
one.
and
it's
I mean that's a vague.
but listen, is
Is there a checklist?
No.
No.
And everybody, you love this. It depends.
It's case dependent.
Yeah, he wants everything. He wants everything on a spreadsheet with exacts. It doesn't. It depends because it depends on the person. It depends on the family. Sometimes, and then we had, like personally in my family, we had my great aunt Sarah, who couldn't live at home alone, and my mom was spending the night there, and we had sitters during the day, but she was home, not alone. Not everybody can do that. And then she got to the point it was too exhausting for my mom, and she got too debilitated that she went to a personal care home. She didn't even know that she was there. So, and she was fine. Other people live right next door. Some people live hours away. So, and some people it's only one loved one that's doing all the work. And the ones that live out of town just love to give all the advice, as about what needs to be done. That's fantastic. But, and some people are just like, I don't know what to do. Like they can't be at home. So Ring cameras have helped actually a lot, right? Because you can kind of see what they're doing, see if they leave. So there's all different modifications you do.
The med alert bracelets or the necklaces.
Each individual case. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about therapy much. And we talked about prevention as far as like trying to control your risk factors. You can't prevent aging. People will often ask about genetics. And I think the number is very low about a true genetic familial disposition for Alzheimer's.
Oh, really? I literally thought it was pretty genetically predisposed.
Now, genetic
Shows what I know.
predisposition for diabetes and things like that, but that's not always a true Alzheimer's process. Alzheimer's specifically is the proteins getting bound up in the brain and interfering with how the neurons function and communication. And that's a whole different process than some of the other dementia processes itself. Still trying to understand why that happens. We found that, but determining the amount that it takes to cause a problem is yet to be determined. But that it does lead to sort of some of the therapies that are out there. I mean, the pills have been Aricept and then an Exelon patch and Namenda. And that works for potentially Alzheimer's, vascular dementia. They're all kind of the same. They all have their risks and side effects, and you just try to balance them. But they do help.
Not a cure, but it helps to prevent progression.
Right. Prevents can kind of level stuff off. But there
Prevagen? I've watched a commercial on Prevagen.
You've been waiting for this.
Oh, I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what is Prevagen?
I don't know. I watch it. It's.
You saw it on the internet.
I think it makes me remember more if I took it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. People ask about Prevagen. There's all sorts of stuff out there. I've had people that take it. I don't see that it hurts anything. They'll take it for a while. They think it's great, and then they come back the next time. They're like, yeah, that really didn't do anything. I stopped. So if it makes you feel better and you think it's helping, I haven't seen any harm. And I have no stock in the company, so I don't care if you take it or not. I'd rather see you exercise more and quit smoking and manage your health a little bit better. It'd be better for you.
In the long run, 100%.
Yeah. But there are some IV therapies that are new.
Yep.
Like Chemby, and then there's another one that's out there. But
it's not for everybody.
Extremely, extremely expensive. I think Leqembi I looked up was like $26,000 a year. But that doesn't include the infusion costs. It's an hour infusion every couple of weeks for like 18 months, and then once a month. Like they're kind of they lower the protein load, but long term, what do we get out of it? We're not sure
What's
yet.
the utility of it? Actually,
So there's still more. There's different trials. I'm assuming more coming down the line, but
all right. So we're almost running out of time, but just let's recap real quick. We talked about some of the summer safety stuff.
Yeah.
In 1 minute or less, what should we do? It's hot out.
Stay hydrated. Stay out of the sun as much as possible. Always take
It
breaks.
doesn't mean, though, that you can't go outside.
Right.
Because, oh, my gosh, I have patients, well, it's too hot to go walking.
No,
and then
walk
in
at
wintertime,
8 p.m.
It's too cold.
Then. It's still light outside.
There are 3 days out of the year that it's a perfect temperature that they can apparently, some will go out and exercise.
Or go to YMCA
Suck it up,
and
Buttercup.
exercise.
Yeah, your favorite. Yeah. Go to the YMCA, right. Go indoors.
Go into that pool. That's an indoor pool.
Yeah,
Right.
they have an indoor
Yeah.
pool.
Yep.
That's a good exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we talked a little long discussion on Alzheimer's and dementia, early stage, what you guys generally see, some of the family challenges, especially when it gets into the mid-course and late stage.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the one area of our population that continues to grow. Mm-hmm. Because again, like I said, we figured out how to keep
Everything
this
else.
going, but this sometimes doesn't keep up.
She was saying this. She was pointing to her body. And when she
From my
said
neck
that,
down,
yes.
she was pointing to her
Sorry,
head.
from my neck down. We figured out how to keep that going,
We're on
but
radio.
not necessarily keep
Outliving
the
our
brain.
brains now.
We've outlived them sometimes. Yeah.
And so, and then we also were hitting on the importance of the relationship with their PCP. Obviously, what we're here for, what we're advocating for. Have these conversations, have these relationships with your primary care physician, whoever that is. It's utmost to your family health. And Marcy always likes to talk about she takes care of the entire family, not just one individual. So I think that's an important part of this conversation. And it's where doctors spend a lot of time in the social work world, but it's in many respects as important in figuring out I don't even know what physical trait I'll throw out there.
You're just rambling on. It's okay. Yeah, we do. We welcome you all. We love taking care of the entire family. We work as a group. I mean, it's us too, but then there's still 7 other PAs and nurse practitioners, and we enjoy taking care of the entire patient. So we welcome you to come to Montgomery Medical whenever you need care. Have a good day.
Bye.
News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. A divided Supreme Court ruled today states can block the